For decades, Charles Kuralt was the trusted voice of America's backroads. As the host of CBS's On the Road, he brought viewers stories of everyday people, small towns, and the quiet beauty of the American landscape. With his gentle manner, poetic narration, and deep curiosity, Kuralt became a beloved figure, a journalist who seemed to embody honesty, warmth, and the simple pleasures of life. But after his death in 1997, a shocking secret emerged. Charles Kuralt had lived a double life, maintaining two families in two different parts of the country for decades. The revelation stunned fans and colleagues alike, raising questions about how such a public figure could keep such a private secret for so long. Why did Charles Kuralt live a double life, and how did he get away with it? To understand the man behind the myth, you have to start with Kuralt's extraordinary career. Born in North Carolina in 1934, Kuralt was a prodigy from the start, a gifted writer, a voracious reader, and a natural storyteller. He joined CBS News in his 20s and quickly made a name for himself as a correspondent who could find the extraordinary in the ordinary. In 1967, he launched On the Road, a series that would define his legacy. Traveling the country in a motorhome, Kuralt sought out the unsung heroes and hidden corners of America, telling stories that celebrated kindness, resilience, and the human spirit. Kuralt's work resonated with millions. He won 13 Emmy Awards, wrote best-selling books, and became a fixture on Sunday mornings with CBS News Sunday Morning. His voice was synonymous with trust and authenticity. Off-camera, he was known for his wit, generosity, and love of adventure. But even as he became a household name, Kuralt was leading a life that few could have imagined. The secret began to unravel after Kuralt's death from lupus in 1997. As his family gathered to mourn, a woman named Patricia Shannon came forward with a startling claim. She had been Kuralt's companion for nearly 3 decades, living with him in Montana while his wife, Suzanne Petey Baird, remained in New York. Shannon produced letters, photographs, and even a will in which Kuralt left her a house and land in Montana. The ensuing legal battle revealed a web of deception that had been carefully maintained for years. How did Kuralt manage to keep two lives separate for so long? The answer lies in the very nature of his work. As a roving correspondent, Kuralt was constantly on the move, spending weeks or months away from home. His job provided the perfect cover for a double life. He could disappear for long stretches, explaining his absences as part of his commitment to storytelling. Friends and colleagues described him as a private man, someone who valued his independence and guarded his personal life closely. In an era before cell phones and social media, it was easier to keep secrets, and Kuralt was a master at compartmentalizing his world. But why did he do it? Those who knew Kuralt best describe a man who was both restless and deeply loyal, a paradox that defined his life. He loved his wife, Petey, but he also found a sense of peace and belonging with Patricia Shannon in Montana. The two women represented different sides of his personality, the public figure and the private dreamer, the journalist and the romantic. Kuralt's letters to Shannon reveal a man who longed for simplicity, solitude, and the beauty of the natural world. In Montana, he could escape the pressures of fame and reconnect with the things that mattered most to him. The revelation of Kuralt's double life shocked those who had admired him for his integrity. Some felt betrayed, while others saw it as a reminder that even the most trusted figures are human, capable of contradiction and complexity. The legal battle over his estate was bitter and public, with both families fighting for recognition and closure. In the end, the court sided with Shannon, granting her the Montana property that Kuralt had promised her in his final days. The story of Charles Kuralt's double life is a cautionary tale about the gap between public image and private reality. It raises uncomfortable questions about trust, loyalty, and the nature of love. But it also speaks to the enduring mystery of the human heart, the ways in which we seek connection, meaning, and escape, even at great personal cost. The unraveling of Charles Kuralt's secret life after his death sent shockwaves through the world of journalism and among his devoted viewers. For decades, Kuralt had been the embodiment of trustworthiness and gentle wisdom, a man whose voice brought comfort and whose stories celebrated the best of America. The revelation that he had maintained a secret family for nearly 30 years seemed almost impossible to believe. Yet, as the details emerged, it became clear that Kuralt's double life was not the result of a single impulsive decision, but of years of careful planning, compartmentalization, and emotional complexity. Kuralt's ability to keep his two worlds separate was rooted in the unique nature of his career. As a traveling correspondent, he was rarely in one place for long. His work on the road, and later, CBS News Sunday Morning, required him to be constantly moving, often spending weeks or months away from his official home in New York. This nomadic lifestyle provided the perfect cover for his relationship with Patricia Shannon in Montana. To his wife, Petey, and their circle in New York, Kuralt was simply a dedicated journalist, always chasing the next story. To Shannon, he was a partner, a companion, and a man who cherished the quiet beauty of their life together in the West. The logistics of Kuralt's double life were astonishing. He maintained separate bank accounts, phone numbers, and even mailing addresses. He was careful to avoid leaving a paper trail that could connect his two families. Friends and colleagues who traveled with him later recalled that Kuralt was intensely private, often disappearing for days at a time without explanation. In an era before digital footprints and constant connectivity, it was possible for a man of Kuralt's means and intelligence to keep such secrets hidden. But the question remains, why did Kuralt choose to live this way? Those who knew him best describe a man who was deeply conflicted. On one hand, he was devoted to his wife, Petey, and took his responsibilities as a husband seriously. On the other, he found a sense of peace and fulfillment with Patricia Shannon that he could not find elsewhere. In Montana, Kuralt could escape the pressures of fame and the demands of his career. He could fish, write, and enjoy the solitude of the wilderness. Shannon offered him a different kind of love, a partnership built on shared dreams and a mutual appreciation for the simple things in life. Kuralt's letters to Shannon, which became public during the legal battle over his estate, reveal a man who was both romantic and pragmatic. He wrote of his longing for the Montana landscape, his desire to build a life with Shannon, and his regret that circumstances prevented him from being with her full time. Yet, he never left his wife, and he never fully committed to a single life with Shannon. This emotional balancing act was at the heart of Kuralt's double life, a testament to the complexity of human relationships and the ways in which we try to reconcile conflicting desires. The legal battle that followed Kuralt's death was as dramatic as any story he ever reported. Shannon produced a handwritten letter from Kuralt, dated just days before his death, in which he promised to leave her the Montana property they had shared. Petey and her family contested the will, arguing that Kuralt had never intended to make such a bequest. The case went to court, and after months of testimony and legal wrangling, the judge ruled in Shannon's favor. The decision was based on the clear intent expressed in Kuralt's letter, as well as the evidence of their long-standing relationship. The public reaction to the case was mixed. Some saw Shannon as a sympathetic figure, a woman who had loved Kuralt quietly and faithfully for decades. Others viewed her as an interloper, someone who had taken advantage of a famous man's generosity. For Petey and her family, the revelation was a devastating blow, a betrayal that cast a shadow over Kuralt's memory. For Shannon, it was a bittersweet victory, one that brought recognition but also public scrutiny. In the end, the story of Charles Kuralt's double life is a reminder that even the most admired figures are capable of secrets and contradictions. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to recognize the complexity of the people we idolize, and to accept that the truth is often more complicated than we would like to believe. As the details of Charles Kuralt's double life became public, the story took on a life of its own, sparking debates about morality, privacy, and the nature of love. For many, the revelation was a shock not just because of Kuralt's wholesome public image, but because it seemed so at odds with the values he championed in his work. Kuralt had spent his career telling stories about honesty, integrity, and the quiet dignity of ordinary people. How could a man so devoted to celebrating the best in others have kept such a significant part of his own life hidden? The answer, perhaps, lies in the very qualities that made Kuralt such a compelling storyteller. He was a master of compartmentalization, able to focus intensely on the moment at hand while setting aside the distractions and complications of his personal life. This ability served him well as a journalist, allowing him to immerse himself in the lives of the people he profiled without bringing his own baggage into the story. But it also enabled him to maintain two separate existences, each with its own routines, relationships, and emotional realities. Kuralt's double life was not unique in the annals of public figures, but the way he managed it was remarkable for its longevity and discretion. He was careful to avoid the kinds of mistakes that often expose secrets. No suspicious credit card charges, no unexplained absences that couldn't be attributed to work, no careless slips in conversation. He was aided by the era in which he lived, a time when privacy was easier to maintain and the media was less intrusive. Even so, it required constant vigilance and a willingness to live with the risk of discovery. For Patricia Shannon, the experience was both rewarding and painful. She and Kuralt shared a deep bond built on years of shared experiences and mutual affection. Yet, she was always aware that their relationship existed in the shadows, that she would never be fully acknowledged as his partner while he was alive. Shannon's decision to come forward after Kuralt's death was not just about the Montana property. It was about seeking recognition for the life they had built together, and for the promises Kuralt had made to her. The legal battle that ensued was a public spectacle, with both families forced to air their grievances in court. The media coverage was intense, with reporters poring over Kuralt's letters, interviewing friends and relatives, and speculating about the motivations of everyone involved. For Petey, Kuralt's widow, the ordeal was a deeply personal betrayal, one that forced her to reevaluate her memories of their life together. For Shannon, it was a chance to assert her place in Kuralt's story, even as it brought unwanted attention and judgment. The public's fascination with the case was fueled by the contrast between Kuralt's public persona and his private actions. Here was a man who had built a career on trust and authenticity, yet had managed to deceive those closest to him for decades. Some saw this as evidence of hypocrisy, while others viewed it as a testament to the complexity of human nature. The story became a kind of Rorschach test, with people projecting their own beliefs and experiences onto the characters involved. In the years since Kuralt's death, the story of his double life has become a cautionary tale, cited in discussions about the dangers of idolizing public figures and the importance of transparency. Yet, it has also prompted more nuanced conversations about the nature of love, loyalty, and the choices we make in pursuit of happiness. Kuralt's letters to Shannon reveal a man who was deeply conflicted, torn between his obligations and his desires, his public image and his private longings. Ultimately, the story of Charles Kuralt's double life is a reminder that even the most admired and accomplished individuals are capable of secrets, contradictions, and mistakes. It challenges us to look beyond the surface, to recognize the humanity in those we idolize, and to accept that the truth is often more complicated than we would like to believe. For Kuralt, the cost of his double life was high, but it was a price he was willing to pay for the chance to experience love and fulfillment on his own terms. The aftermath of Charles Kuralt's double life left a lasting impact not only on his family and loved ones, but also on the public's perception of the man they thought they knew. For years, Kuralt had been a symbol of American decency, a storyteller who found beauty in the ordinary and dignity in the overlooked. The revelation of his secret life forced many to grapple with the uncomfortable truth that even the most trusted figures can harbor hidden complexities. It was a reminder that the line between public persona and private reality is often far blurrier than we'd like to admit. For Petey, Kuralt's widow, the discovery was devastating. She had shared decades of marriage with a man she believed to be devoted and honest. The legal battle over Kuralt's Montana property was not just about land or inheritance. It was about the meaning of a lifetime of partnership and the pain of realizing that part of that life had been lived in the shadows. Friends described Petey as heartbroken but dignified, choosing to grieve privately rather than engage in public recrimination. Her experience resonated with many who have faced betrayal, reminding us that even the strongest relationships can be shaken by secrets. Patricia Shannon, on the other hand, found herself thrust into an unwanted spotlight. For years, she had been content to share her life with Kuralt quietly, away from the demands of his public career. The court case forced her to defend her relationship, to prove its legitimacy in the eyes of the law and the public. While she ultimately prevailed in her claim to the Montana property, the victory was bittersweet. Shannon gained recognition, but also faced judgment and scrutiny from those who saw her as an interloper or homewrecker. Her story became a symbol of the complicated realities that can arise when love and loyalty are divided. The broader public reaction to Kuralt's double life was a mix of shock, disappointment, and reluctant understanding. Some fans felt betrayed, unable to reconcile the man they admired with the choices he had made. Others saw Kuralt's actions as a reflection of the universal human struggle to balance duty and desire, public expectation and private longing. The story sparked debates about morality, forgiveness, and the pressures faced by those in the public eye. Was Kuralt a hypocrite, or simply a flawed human being trying to find happiness in a complicated world? In the years since the scandal, Kuralt's legacy has been re-examined through a more nuanced lens. Biographers and journalists have explored the ways in which his personal life influenced his work and vice versa. Some have argued that Kuralt's deep empathy for the people he profiled on the road, was rooted in his own experience of living with secrets and contradictions. His ability to connect with outsiders, dreamers, and those living unconventional lives may have been shaped by his own sense of being an outsider in his personal world. Kuralt's story has also become a touchstone in discussions about the nature of fame and the burdens it can impose. The pressure to maintain a spotless public image can be overwhelming, leading some to compartmentalize their lives in ways that ultimately prove unsustainable. In Kuralt's case, his fame provided both the means and the motive for secrecy. His constant travel allowed him to maintain two separate lives, while his reputation for integrity made it all the more important to keep his secret hidden. Despite the controversy, Kuralt's contributions to journalism and storytelling remain significant. His work continues to inspire new generations of reporters, writers, and filmmakers who seek to capture the richness and complexity of American life. The lessons of his double life are not just about deception, but about the enduring human quest for connection, meaning, and authenticity. As time has passed, the scandal has faded, but the questions it raised remain. Can we ever truly know the people we admire? Is it possible to reconcile public virtue with private failing? And what does it mean to live an authentic life in a world that demands perfection? For Charles Kuralt, the answers were never simple. His story is a reminder that the truth is often messy, and that the most interesting lives are rarely the most straightforward. As the years have gone by, the story of Charles Kuralt's double life has become more than just a sensational headline. It has evolved into a case study in the complexities of human nature and the contradictions that can exist within even the most admired individuals. For many, the initial shock of the revelation has given way to a deeper curiosity about what drove Kuralt to live such a compartmentalized existence, and how he managed to keep his secret for so long in an era when privacy was already beginning to erode. One of the most fascinating aspects of Kuralt's story is how seamlessly he navigated between his two worlds. In New York, he was the consummate professional, a respected journalist and loving husband who attended social functions, networked with colleagues, and maintained a steady presence in the city's media circles. In Montana, he was a different man, relaxed, contemplative, and deeply connected to the land and to Patricia Shannon. Friends who knew him in both places often remarked on the subtle differences in his demeanor, noting that he seemed happiest when he was away from the pressures of his public life. Kuralt's ability to maintain this duality was aided by the nature of his work. As a roving correspondent, he had a plausible reason to be away from home for extended periods. The demands of his job provided the perfect cover for his absences, and his reputation for dedication and hard work meant that few questioned his whereabouts. In many ways, Kuralt's double life was a product of both opportunity and temperament, a unique combination of circumstance and personal inclination that allowed him to pursue two very different kinds of fulfillment. The psychological toll of living such a divided life cannot be underestimated. While Kuralt was able to keep his secret for decades, it is clear from his letters and the accounts of those close to him that he was often torn by guilt and regret. He cared deeply for both Petey and Patricia, and the knowledge that he was deceiving them weighed heavily on his conscience. Yet he was also unwilling, or perhaps unable, to give up either part of his life. This internal conflict is a reminder that even the most outwardly successful and contented people can struggle with profound emotional dilemmas. The public's response to Kuralt's story has been shaped by changing attitudes toward privacy, morality, and the expectations we place on public figures. In the years since his death, there has been a growing recognition that the lives of celebrities and leaders are often far more complicated than they appear. The rise of social media and the 24-hour news cycle has made it harder than ever to keep secrets, and the scrutiny faced by those in the public eye is more intense than anything Kuralt experienced. Yet, his story remains relevant as a cautionary tale about the dangers of idealizing anyone and the importance of acknowledging the full spectrum of human experience. For journalists and storytellers, Kuralt's legacy is both inspiring and instructive. His work on the road set a standard for compassionate, insightful reporting that continues to influence the field today. At the same time, his personal life serves as a reminder of the ethical challenges that can arise when the boundaries between public and private are blurred. The question of how much of ourselves we reveal to the world, and how much we keep hidden, remains as pertinent now as it was in Kuralt's time. In the end, the story of Charles Kuralt's double life is not just about deception or scandal. It is about the search for meaning, the longing for connection, and the ways in which we all navigate the tensions between our public roles and private desires. Kuralt's ability to get away with his secret for so long was a testament to his intelligence, his resourcefulness, and the unique circumstances of his life. But it was also a reflection of the universal human tendency to seek out happiness, even when it comes at a cost. In the final analysis, the story of Charles Kuralt's double life is a study in the contradictions that define us all. For decades, Kuralt was the voice of America's backroads, a man who seemed to embody the very values he celebrated in his reporting: honesty, simplicity, and a deep appreciation for the everyday joys of life. Yet, beneath that carefully crafted image was a man wrestling with his own desires, secrets, and the impossible task of reconciling two separate worlds. The legacy of Kuralt's secret is not just about the pain it caused those closest to him, but about the broader questions it raises for all of us. How well do we really know the people we admire? What do we owe to those we love? And what do we owe to ourselves? Is it possible to live authentically when our hearts are divided, or are we all, in some way, living double lives, presenting one face to the world while keeping another hidden? For Petey, Kuralt's widow, the revelation was a devastating blow. The man she had loved and trusted for decades turned out to have a side she never truly knew. The legal battle over the Montana property was about more than land. It was about the meaning of a shared life, the boundaries of forgiveness, and the challenge of moving forward in the face of betrayal. For Patricia Shannon, the outcome was equally bittersweet. She gained recognition for her years with Kuralt, but at the cost of public scrutiny and the knowledge that her love story would always be seen through the lens of scandal. For the public, the story of Charles Kuralt is a reminder that even our heroes are human. The qualities that made him a great storyteller, his empathy, his curiosity, his ability to see the beauty in imperfection, were also the qualities that allowed him to live with contradiction. Kuralt's life was a mosaic of moments, some public and celebrated, others private and fraught with complexity. In the end, he was neither a villain nor a saint, but a man who, like all of us, was searching for meaning and connection in a world that rarely offers easy answers. The enduring fascination with Kuralt's double life speaks to the power of narrative, both the stories we tell others and the stories we tell ourselves. Kuralt was a master at shaping narrative, both on camera and off. He understood that life is rarely black and white, and that the most interesting stories are those that embrace ambiguity. His own life, with its joys and sorrows, triumphs and regrets, was a testament to that truth. In the years since his death, Kuralt's work has continued to inspire. His gentle, compassionate approach to storytelling remains a model for journalists and writers who seek to capture the richness of human experience. The lessons of his personal life, though more complicated, are just as important. They remind us that integrity is not about perfection, but about the willingness to face our own contradictions honestly. They challenge us to look beyond the surface, to accept the messiness of real life, and to find empathy for those whose choices we may not fully understand. As we reflect on why Charles Kuralt lived a double life and how he got away with it, we are left with more questions than answers. Perhaps that is as it should be. Life, after all, is not a neatly wrapped story, but a journey filled with detours, surprises, and unresolved mysteries. Kuralt's ability to keep his secret for so long was a product of his intelligence, his circumstances, and the era in which he lived. But it was also a reflection of the universal human desire to be seen, to be loved, and to find a place where we truly belong. In the end, Charles Kuralt's story is not just about deception or scandal. It is about the complexity of the human heart, the search for meaning, and the ways in which we all navigate the tension between who we are and who we appear to be. His life invites us to look more closely at our own stories, to embrace the contradictions within ourselves, and to remember that even the most trusted voices can harbor secrets. The real lesson may be that understanding, forgiveness, and empathy are the keys to making peace with the double lives we all, in some way, lead.